You see some women that are older, maybe overweight, and they're like, that girl's a 10. She has energy like she's a 10. You giving yourself your own value is bad for you. I don't think any of us can play small forward for the Heat. I'm pretty sure that we can't. We'd go out there and be like, sorry, Jimmy, you're stepping over. I'm playing small forward. They'd be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I'm sure both of you guys at some point came to the realization that if all I do is subject myself to everything that women tell me and just listen to what they say and just act like the biggest nice guy, I'm gonna get pushed over by women. Some point, I don't even know, I can look at the two of you and tell at some point you came to this realization. Okay,
absolutely,
right. At some point, you have to come to it.
Down.
Right, you have to. But like,
some point.
but then the crazy part is, then you come to the realization. Wait a second. When I actually have my own boundaries and I stick to my own boundaries, not only is it not hurting me, it's fucking helping me. They're actually more attracted to me. What is going on here? Then you get into this very dangerous place. He calls it red pill rage. You get into this very dangerous place where it's like, wait a second, I believed all this shit I was told. Phase. And then now I'm starting to realize, like, I just got laid by the hottest woman I've ever seen in my life because I didn't give a fuck what she had to say to me. Wait, what is going on here, dude? And now you realize the system is broken and you've been lied to and now you're angry.
Everything is a lie.
When guys get into that anger phase, I think that's another thing is like a lot of people say that with the red pill, just it's so guys will hate women or those guys must hate women.
That's the problem.
Anger. And I'm just like, no, it's like guys go through an anger phase for sure. But it's not anger at women, it's anger at themselves for having like believed what they did for so long and wasted so much time and so much effort. And it's just like, I can't believe I didn't see it sooner. Kind of
what
thing.
is real?
I mean, and all guys go through that. They go through that. Like when they unplug from the matrix or they take the red pill, whatever it is. The
first heartbreak.
Yeah, exactly.
Give you a glimpse.
Who hurt you, right? I mean, that's all that is just an appeal to emotion. But it's easy. It's an easy poke because guys do get angry, right? They get angry. That's part of what I call the 5 stages of unplugging, which are an analogy of the 5 stages of grief. One of those is anger. And so when guys get into that anger phase, it's not that they're angry at women, it's that they're angry at themselves for having believed what they did for so long. When people who are on the outside and they're uninitiated to any of this kind of stuff, they see that and they go, "Oh, look, see, that's this rage. These guys are they're gonna be radicals. They're gonna hate women and they're gonna like, drive cars through like yoga studios or some shit like that." It's like, no, that's not what it's about. It's never been about that. But the thing is like I think the biggest problem that most people have with the red pill is it asks the questions that people really don't want to consider. They don't want to contemplate for themselves.
No, of course, like the concept of like you guys being 38 years old and then being at your sexual peak and having more women be attracted to you, but the girls that you graduated that were seniors in high school.
I'm at my sexual
Are you
peak.
right? There you go.
He's like,
that's when you start getting the most right swipes. But then the girls you graduated from high school with, like a lot of them aren't. They're 38. Their 38 is very different than your 38. That's a very uncomfortable thing to have a discussion with about who's 38 and decided to wait to have kids until she was 38 years old and now is having trouble conceiving or finding a man. Here, I'll give you an example. This will make sense. You guys watch football, basketball, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. So I'll give you an example. A guy who's young and good, like say, for instance, Patrick Mahomes. He got a 10-year, $500 million contract, right? Because he's young. Everybody wanted to commit to him because he's young. I'll give you $50 million a year. That contract is going to look cheap by the end of the contract. They were willing to commit. Look at Chris Paul in basketball. Everybody keeps trading his contract because nobody wants to commit to him because he's 35, 36 years old. Because he's older, even though he's good, nobody wants to commit. When he was younger, they did. This concept is not offensive and makes absolute sense to us. You take the same thing you said about women, holy shit.
People lose their shit.
They lose their mind.
How could you? Who gave you guys a platform?
Yeah, exactly, because they get angry. But the problem is, I'm not saying you have less value to society. But what I am saying is that when we look at Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge right swipes and left swipes, you get your most right swipes between the ages of 23 and 25, and men get the most between 38 and 44. That's just an objective fact. How you want to interpret that is, well, for me, I would say, well, then that means as a woman, you need to be more cognizant of that fact. What women might say is, then that is the function of a patriarchy that you have created. And it's partially because of the content. It's partially of the concept that you've created. And just to let you know, like none of this is true. And I am big and beautiful. And your heterosexuality is just basically a cultural construct. And if we just teach you the right things, you'd be more open to being pansexual and like being polyamorous. And I'm like, no, I won't. No, I'm not. Like,
not going to have it.
I'm ready to walk out the room right now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Walk up to my girl, but you better not
38 right swipe. You know what I mean?
Right swipe on it.
My prime, man.
No, look, here's another one. I love this one. There's a guy. Have you seen the TikTok with this guy? He 1 million right swipes and went on 2 dates and had 0 sex. And he's a pretty average looking guy. A girl, 6,000 left swipes to go on 1 date. That's on average, 6,000. Men are on these dating apps to have sex, short-term sexual encounters. Some of them just to find anybody, anything at all. 26% of men under the age of 30 are virgins. So it's like any kind of sex they can get, right? Now,
That's good with his statistics.
Now,
he says it so quick.
Well, it's like, and then the
Don't
other,
forget he's a pilot.
when we talk about like the sexual marketplace, like the stats that he's talking about right now, you're quantifying things. You're quantifying things that are very personal to people.
Yes.
If you look at my infamous graph that's in my first book, where it's like, you know, women's peak sexual market value years is right about 23 years old. I still abide by that today. And you can see this in so many subfields. Like if it's, you know, Hollywood actresses, when are they at their peak of the performance? Right about there. There's so many. I did that as just sort of a tongue-in-cheek kind of thing.
But it's also NFL running backs.
Exactly.
It makes sense when it's NFL running backs.
There's going to be like people want to say, "Oh, well, Rollo, you always talk about the wall." Well, the wall is a whole nother animal. But the thing is like when you quantify it and you put an age, you put a number on that. And I say, like, guys, your peak sexual market value years, the time in your life that you're going to be the most, you have your peak potential, assuming you maximize that, it's going to be right around 34 to 38, somewhere in there, maybe 36 years old. Because at that point, you've made partner in the law firm, you're a surgeon, or you've got your business off the ground. Because the things that make a man maximally attractive are things that take longer to mature and accrue to that guy, as opposed to the 22, 23-year-old girl who has the world's her oyster. Now, Myron Gaines talks about it this way: like, women are born with $1 million, they win the lottery ticket, and they've got that $1 million, but they get that when they're 23, right? And they've got to invest that, or they've got to do something, be a wise steward of their money. They never really are, but they have this sexual capital that their agency is really determined by whatever their sexual value is.
The opposite will happen also is someone like you said, Charleston White, saying there's no alpha males. He'll say, I can't believe these guys are saying, no, not these guys. We're using data from Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge in eHarmony. There's a book called Dataclysm, which goes over all these stats. So what you're doing is you need to make it personal about me because you can't argue with the statistics. And you're sure as hell not going to do any research on your own to try to counter anything I've said.
That's the sexual again, that's what I was talking about. When you quantify things, you take it out of this sort of romanticized, lovey-dovey, emotional feelings, social constructionism, and you say, like, women will say, I can't believe those red pill guys talk about sexual market value. Oh my gosh, I can't believe they think it's a marketplace. It's like, no, it is a marketplace. You just don't want to call. But see, the fact that we would quantify things like that, they think we're like egghead, nerd, geeky, stupid people because we're putting a number on these things. But the fact of the matter is you can take that dynamic and use it in any other realm except for that.
Yeah.
Except for romantic, except for intersexual dynamics, because now you're dehumanizing them by putting a number on it. She's not a 9, she's a 10, she's not a 4, she's an 8, right? Those kinds of things. Because what you're doing is you're taking the sexual marketplace and you're really, what is a marketplace? It's an economy. So that economy is how valuable are you on this particular marketplace at your particular time. So when women will say, well, look at me, I'm in a Fitness America pageant winner at 34. Yes, but you at 34 could not compete with yourself when you were 24 because that's when you were at your peak. It's not that you're not hot. You still are. Don't get me wrong.
You're still a good person,
The wall starts here. It doesn't start here, right? It's like, would you be able to compete with your 23-year-old self at 33? But that's the difference there. But by me saying that, I've brought the romantic, ideal into numbers, dollars, cents, economics, and the sexual markets.
Again,
It's too brute.
It's harsh.
Well,
harsh.
It is harsh, but like go back to what he said before. I've met some stunning 34-year-old women. The problem is it goes back to what I said before. You're talking about a woman hitting the wall and that's offensive. Zeke Elliott hit the wall. He was the running back for the Cowboys. They paid him too much money, so they cut him. Yeah. And you know what we think as Cowboy fans? Probably should have cut him 2 years ago. Yeah. That's the way we look at it. And nobody's offended because he's sitting there making $3 million a year working for the Patriots. We don't care. That's not how we look at it. But for some reason, that's not offensive. But when we talk about women, it is. And I just don't understand why we can't just look at this from an economic standpoint. Because if we did, then people would make a lot better decisions.
Yes.
And then that's essentially where we'd end up because we live in this cold, hard reality. And when we how do we just defy the reality? Oh, astrology, karma, fate, destiny. Oh, I met him because, oh, because he was his chakras were in the right order, or whatever. and
Venus
that's
was aligned with
it's
Pluto.
like, well, he just had good energy. Isn't it funny how every dude you think has good energy is 6'3" and sells fucking coke?
happens
Isn't
to-
it weird how every time the guy has good energy, he has fucking abs. His name is Brock,
Works
and he's
at
a male
Chippendales.
stripper. Isn't it funny how those are the only ones with the good energy? Like, it's just so crazy when you like have these like just basic conversations with people, and they just get so livid when you ever ask the problem. When women are like, you see some women that are older, maybe overweight, and they're like, that girl's a 10. She has energy like she's a 10. And the thing is, I know some guys in the red pill are like actually offended. They call her delusional. They call her 304, like a whatever. And my thing is, I don't even want to do that. I'm just saying, you calling yourself, you giving yourself your own value is bad for you. That's the problem. Does that make sense? It's like, well, just consider, like, I don't think any of us can play small forward for the Heat. I'm pretty sure that we can't. But the thing is, like, if we could derive our own value because of our own self-worth, we'd go out there and be like, hey, sorry, Jimmy, you're stepping over. I'm playing small forward. They'd be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Jimmy Butler is playing small. Do you see how he's good and actually has to prove himself on a daily basis?